Are Christians repeating the Jews? Are we seeing a replay of what Malachi described in his book at the end with the Jews and Christianity? Are we on the same path? Let's talk about that today. I think this is an interesting subject, so we're going to dive into this. Let's start by saying, who was Malachi? Malachi was the last prophet of the Old Testament. In most of your Bibles, he would be the last book before the New Testament. Some of the Bibles, they include the Maccabees, the two books of the Maccabees, and they throw that after Malachi, but before, the New Testament starts with Matthew. But Malachi was actually, his book finished, and then there's a 450-year silence before Matthew picks up the gospel record. So the gospel record's silent from Malachi to Matthew. I'm just refreshing your memory on Malachi. Malachi was the famous one who said at the very end in his 4th chapter, he said that Elijah will come before the Messiah, which is a key fact. But he also talked about a lot of things, and he was given a state of the Jews back then, and they were morally corrupted. They were mailing in their sacrifices, not literally, but they were weak and disfigured animals. They were sloppy. They were idol worshiping. They weren't true to God, and God was angry. And Malachi tried to warn them about God's anger. Malachi did a good job, but Malachi compares. He says how God loved Jacob and hated Esau, his brother, if you remember that. Sort of comparing good and bad. But we as Christians, are we walking down that same path? Because the Messiah is going to come again, and we already know that the world's going to be like it was in the day of Noah. Are we getting there? Is that where we're going now? Are we having moral decline? Nobody's paying attention to God. It's all kind of repeating itself. And if you want to know where Christianity is going, just look where the Jews went. Almost the way we say in America, you want to know where America's going, just look at the Romans. So is Christianity sliding down the same path? I think it's going to sound here a little bit like I'm stepping on our toes, but it's not me. I'm hitting your toes with the Bible. Malachi was describing how they're offering lame animals for sacrifice and all these sort of things, like I said in the first part. But here's the ticker. Are we doing the same thing? I know we don't sacrifice, but our prayers are received as sacrifice. So what am I saying here? Are we offering lame prayers? How about asking God for stuff that we shouldn't be asking God for? We're asking him for wealth. We're asking him for a good house. We're asking him for all this stuff. Is that what we should be asking for? Are those lame prayers? These things become very important because we're sort of mimicking the Jews, with this. So it gets very difficult as we go on. We pass this. This is where I'm going to slam people's feet a little bit. We have no problem with abortion. That is the same practice that the Jews did. The Jews would pass their children through fire to Moloch in promise of wealth. We do the same thing with abortion. How many times people say, I can't afford a kid. So you pass it through fire. They rip it out of you. Same thing. They pass it through fire so that why? They can live a more comfortable life. It's about themselves. It's not about the next generation. It's not about the children. It's always about the children. It always should be about the children. As Christians, and we sit in our pews, we're constantly being gaslit, slowly leavened, if you saw my video on leaven, slowly leavened into believing and agreeing with what's going on around us. I, for one, I don't agree with it, and people that are around me know that they'll hear it. But how often are you gaslit? Even in your own church, you're gaslit, into loving everybody. You have to get along. You have to go along. No, you don't. You don't have to go along. If it's an event that morally you don't agree with, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't acknowledge it. I'm not saying you have to go out and protest and do these sort of things. I don't do these sort of things, but I do in my own way. I ignore it. I don't get involved in it. When they say, gender affirming surgery, I say, okay, you want gender affirming. How about gender affirming psychotherapy? These are the kind of things. I'm not getting along with this. As Christians, we're so keyed in on projecting morality and not living morality. And I don't want to sound like I'm preaching here, but these are important. And a lot of Christians let this slip away. They sit there. If you want to sit there and ignore it, that's fine. Ignore it, but don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. Don't send a present to somebody who just changed genders because they're having a gender changing party or something. Just don't do anything. Just ignore it. Galatians 1:10. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. Just as the Jews slowly moved away from God towards the end of Malachi, and before the silent period, before the Messiah comes, Yeshua, I just want to mention, we're mouthing Yeshua's words, but we're not living Yeshua's words. I just want to read Malachi 3:7. Even from the days of your father, you are gone away from my ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? That's the same thing that we're living right now. The Jews lived it then, and we're living it now. We need to come back. We need to get back. We need to come back to this is where we need the church. And this is where I'm calling on our churches, whatever denomination you are. I'm not one over another, but whatever denomination you are, we need our churches to lead us back, to pull us back in. That's what scatters the church more than anything, is belief in weird items and weird things and being accepting of these things. The churches need to stand firm. They need to stand firm on Yeshua's word. I know I'm sounding like I'm complaining in this video, but I sort of am, so the sound is right. I think in conclusion, I'm just going to say that we need to come back to our roots. We need to follow the Messiah just the way he said to follow him. We need the churches to lead the way, because if we as Christians believe that by going to church and punching your time clock, I say this all the time, broken record, putting it in your pew and keeping it so that when you die, you show it to Jesus and he looks at you and says, depart from me, you worker of iniquities, I never knew you. And I just want to close with Mark 7:6. He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is very far from me. And that's a question I ask myself every day. How far is my heart from Jesus's heart? And I think, for me, that's a good judge, And I'm going to stop it here. And I just want to say thank you. This is the 29th video. And between Rumble and YouTube, I get virtually no views, but that's fine. Between Rumble and YouTube, I average between 20 and 30 views a week, which is astonishing, because I didn't think how many people would be interested in it. I thought nobody would be interested in this kind of material, but I think it's important. And this is just genuine people that I don't know. People around me, my friends, my church mates, none of them know that I make these videos. I don't want fake views. I just wanted to see how many, with the first 29 videos, 30 videos, how many people, if I don't say a word and just post it on the internet, how many people would actually watch. And I'm quite pleased. I'm very happy, and I thank you for that. And hopefully, I'll be coming up with some good videos. I got some good ideas. I can think of a million things. When you read the Bible all the time, you could think of a million things to make videos on. And I'm trying to help, if I can, things that I've learned through the years, that hopefully we can help we can help each other Thank you again.